Hello, and welcome to my secret writing location and the reading of my new book, Bangabout Bits, Adventures of a Clockwork Boy. Before I start the reading, I'm going to read a little bit from the author's note so you get a sense of this mechanical world. So, author's note. Let's say you've just set yourself the task of creating a clockwork world. How would you go about it? Would you start with larger creatures, such as spring-wound elephants and motorized whales, or with smaller, like mechanized spiders and ants? Either way, it would be quite a challenge. But then again, you might be extra clever and set your sights on bacteria bots, single-cell mechanisms, then ironized seeds and self-propellium plants, after which you could work your way back up, providing a source of sustenance for more advanced mechanical creatures. In doing so, you would replicate the kind of ingenious systems operating here on Earth. And now that you have completed all this hard work and perhaps are resting on the seventh day, I thank you for manufacturing such an interesting place on which to base a story. So, Chapter 1. Number 13, Widowshin's Way. The shadow hand snaked through twilight, and then, with a sneak thief's stealth, opened the window. The hand was attached to a shadow arm, which in turn belonged to a shadow body. The entire eerie collection slipped over the sill. You can see. Inside the bedroom was empty. Good. Had the boy been there, well, that would have made things difficult. The shadow drifted deeper into the room, moving like mist over cobblestones. The shadow hadn't squeaked or creaked or clattered in years, not since stumbling onto the suit. And what a find! With it, he could drift practically invisible wherever his heart pump desired. Tonight, it desired to haunt this shabby room in what was certainly the shabbiest part of Gizmopolis. His eyes made a circuit of the place, jumbling over screw-on pants and boxers piled on the floor, then past the second-hand bed, joined to the walls by steam tubes, a nightly necessity for clockwork power. But this boy also ran on something beyond steam, insatiable curiosity. The condition was nearly unheard of in the average clockwork, and so frowned upon, in fact, when questioners were caught, they were abandoned to the scrappers, disassembled for parts, and then bartered throughout the city's slime-drenched sewers. Proper clockworks were programmed to do, not ask. They were machines, after all. The boy had been extraordinarily lucky he hadn't been discovered. It was only because someone was protecting him. The intruder knew this beyond a shadow of a doubt. Skimming the lopsided bureau and even more lopsided door, the shadow's eyes came to rest on a dog-eared poster of Journo Natter. The way he drank in the poster's image, it was a wonder he didn't drain its colors. The reporter often had this effect. He was Gizmopolis's biggest star. And here we see the shadow. With effort, and we also see Journo Natter. With effort, the shadow tore himself away, then spied what he'd come for, a pile of letters on a makeshift workbench, alongside a number of unfinished inventions. The boy really is a chip off the old block, the shadow thought. The old block in question was housed in a picture frame, staring unpleasantly, as if resenting the intrusion. Well, he would, wouldn't he? The shadow and Bolton Bits hadn't always seen eye to eye. But that was oil long out of the can. Bolton had been dead for, how long had it been? Nearly 11 years, right after the boy's manufacturing day. The shadow shrugged and then sorted through the pile. As he did so, several envelopes cascaded off the workbench. As he was skimming a particularly question-filled letter when a clatter sounded from the hall. Quick as a mecha rat down a drain pipe, the shadow slipped into the night, letter in hand. The door flew open. "Journo's on," Bangabout Bits announced to the room as he streaked to his workbench, forgetting to clap on the Illumo gas lamps. But he coasted to a stop when he spotted the envelopes scattered on the floor. Who left that up, he wondered, puttering over to the window and shutting it before he assumed the wind could disturb anything else. Retrieving his letters, he reverently laid them back on the workbench. Normally, he would have bent more thought into who had been messing with the window, but it was time for Journo Natter, investigative reporter. Bangabout's fingers quivered with excitement as he threw the televiewer switch. A blue glow wobbled onto the screen, rimming the boy's dreary bronze cheeks. Shiny buffed metal, reserved for the wealthy, but not for the likes of him. There's our Bangabout right there. But the inquiring spark in his goggled eyes made up for that. Journo Natter was the best news hound Gizmopolis had ever known. You could trust him to expose evil wherever it lurked. His show was the very best of reality telly, and not boring like As the Wrench Turns, All My Clockworks, and The Young and the Rustless. Although Bangabout wondered, as he often did about so many things, if everything was so real, how Journo paused his scrapes with villainous scrappers just long enough for commercials. The telepicture snapped into focus as an announcer crooned, "Tonight's show, brought to you by Deedle Bank and Trust Company, will begin after this special announcement." Bangabout's excitement shimmied from fingertip to spine as Journo Natter's teeth glinted a flash bulb spark. "Tomorrow, I, Journo Natter, am popping by Cogsmire School for Limited Learning, where I shall interview one very lucky student. It's all part of my community outreach program." Bangabout's whoop of delight rattled his bedroom window. "Journo's visiting my school! Oh, my cog!" Bangabout's hand flew to the volume dial, but arrived with too much enthusiasm. "Arg!" He smacked the workbench with his palm. The remaining components hopped and then clattered where they landed, like an exploded diagram. "This thing's rubbish," he growled. Truth was, the telly was rubbish, as was much of his room. Shoddy tools crowded Bangabout's workbench, parked by several half-invented contraptions, a self-ringing doorbell with auto door knocker attachment, a fully automated stamp and envelope licker, and self-tying shoelaces. Someday he would perfect these things, but for now he lacked the parts. Poor Bangabout. Overlooking all this was the tintype picture. The photograph could have been an older version of the boy, but with springy button chops and an encouraging smile. It was all Bangabout had left to remember his dad. There he is. Bangabout often spoke to the picture as he did now. "Think he'll pick me?" As if to emphasize the point, he plucked up an envelope from the mound on his bench. It was addressed to Journo Natter. "Hope so," he answered himself, holding it as if it were woven of pure awe. Bangabout had sent loads of fan letters in the past. These remained because he couldn't afford the postage. To say Bangabout was poor would shortchange the word. Bangabout fingered his self-tying shoelacer, daydreams spinning like gears in his head. What would it be like to complete the device and then sell it to one of the many manufacturing plants starving for work and new inventions? Would it provide enough to move his mom to a nicer part of town? "Bangabout!" Mrs. Bits warbled from downstairs, bursting his thoughts into 1,000 components. Best not to stay up late. Big day tomorrow. Was it ever? Okay, Mom, Bangabout called back, for the moment forgetting his inventions and the collapsed telly. Tomorrow was the first day of school. Normally, this would have been the last item on Bangabout's big day list, but Journo Natter's impending visit had put a new sheen on all that. There he is. Well, thank you for taking time to listen to this reading, and I hope you do buy a Bangabout Bits book. And thank you again.